ce l'avevo detto due lui.
Welcome to the Circuito de Jerez. It's the Friday race day, very special indeed. This is the gathering of the clans, the Asian Series, the North American Super Trofeo Series and the European Series all coming here for the final race of their final round of 2024. The stage is set. My name's Bruce Jones. I have Jack Bartholomew alongside me in the commentary box. We've got a 50-minute race ahead of us and the skies are turning blue. Yesterday we had every type of rain imaginable, but today, Jack, the scene is set fair.
Yeah, it's looking like a lovely day out there. The track is still a little bit wet at the moment, but let's see what happens. I believe everyone other than one car are starting on the wet. Yeah, they're on slicks, aren't they?
They certainly are. And one thing I want to do is get straight down to the grid because we've got Jonathan Chicotto down with Marietta Evans ready to pounce with an interview.
Good morning. Well, Super Trofeo Asia has been to China, to Japan, to Australia, but it all goes down to whatever happens here. Last race in Jerez, and the grid is bursting with excitement, and we wonder what's going on. The minds of those still fighting for titles. Jonathan is still in the fight for that title. What's going through your mind starting on front row?
Well, to be honest, as of right now, I don't think too much of the championship. I'm focused on winning the race. Mathematically speaking, to win the championship, a few things have to happen, not only me winning, but also we have to see what happens in the back. So I can just focus on myself for now, do my job, and then the rest is not going to be in my hands.
Better track conditions today?
To be honest, very similar to yesterday, which is good because I like these damp conditions, slick tires, but not fully dry. It's my strong point, so let's see what happens.
Good luck, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marietta Evans. So Jonathan Cecotto about to lead away from pole position, or start from pole position. That's an entirely different thing. And Jack, he mentioned there that slightly greasy track. You pointed out doing some good research there, all but one of the cars starting on slicks. So those opening laps are going to be really quite tricky. And the car on treaded tyres is Kuma Prabhakat. He's 16th out of the 17-car grid.
I'll be with Charles
He's going to charge.
Leong.
And let's go down and catch, Marietta's got Charles Leong as well, one of the other championship challengers.
Charles, a last opportunity to fight for that win, and starting from pole, can you make it happen? What do you need to make it happen?
Oh, I don't know. It's just a final race in the Asian Championship, so yeah, we just need to P1, focus on the driving.
Thank you very much, Miki. And I apologize. It's actually Miki Koyama starting the car for the first stint. Charles Leong will be taking the car for the second stint. And they're still seeking first win of the year after 8-9 podiums.
Yeah, they've been super, super consistent, running for Theodore Racing. And, that is why they're still in the championship mix. But it's worth pointing out the championship leader in the pro class is Dan Wells. He's sitting on an 11-point margin. There are 15 points for a win, 12 for second, 10, etc. And so Jonathan Cecotto, who's 12 points down in third, he does need a bit of a miracle, but he has that thing that drivers like. They know their job is to win the race, and the rest will happen accordingly. 4 classes split across all the Super Trofeo. We have the pros, the Pro-Ams, the AMs, and the Lamborghini Cup. So plenty of trophies to be presented, but the good thing, from my point of view, the track is going to be difficult on the opening lap. Maybe the opening handful of laps. They want to stay off the curbs. They always hold a bit more moisture. The grass is still wet from a lot of rain yesterday, but it will dry out. And for a lot of the drivers, they'd rather go second, wouldn't they?
Yeah, for sure. Especially the guys with less experience. It's better to have a full dry track. Just leaves less margin for mistakes and problems to happen. For people like Johnny Cecotto and Dan Wells and some of these more experienced guys, they love these conditions. They thrive in it. And I think we're going to see a great opening stint from Johnny.
Yeah, a person who's going to try and chase him is Emilien Card. We've just seen the French driver. He's starting third on the grid. He's right behind, and the pole is on the pit wall side, which puts you on the outside line for the first corner. This view up the side of 232 to the first corner. It's a short run, slightly rises, flattens as you get to the point of turn-in. A bit like a sort of less extreme version of the Red Bull ring, where you go up the hill and it flattens out.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
very narrow up there, not much space for running wide.
No, it's one of the tighter tracks, especially on the calendar for these guys. So it's just that added, variable that they've got to deal with.
Well, I must say, yesterday they almost had the best conditions all day. It was damp, dried out, and then it became very wet for the other races. But let's see what the Asian drivers can do. That noise as 1, 2, 3. All but one of the cars has got away, and finally the car last on the grid, which is Weron Tan from Malaysia, has got rip-roaring. He's just come into the championship this weekend, so I expect to see a little more progress from him as we go through. So just remember, these cars are split between 4 classes, and the best AM was crowned champion yesterday. That's Brian Lee. He's starting 4th. He's had the most sensational season, the Korean driver for Grit Motorsport, and he would love to get up on a podium, outright podium.
Yeah, I think after yesterday, he's just going to be chasing that overall podium again. He's won almost every AM race this season, so it's almost like that isn't fueling his desires anymore. He needs to be chasing those overall podiums. That's the only way he's going to feel like he's had a successful race.
And he's had 2 already this year, so I dare say they might be looking at his grading for next year, but he's had a sensational season. Right, sorry, I skipped past the first row. Emilien Card starting 3rd on the grid, and alongside Brian Lee, the driver who's AM champion, behind, of course, Jonathan Cecotto and Miki Koyama. Then we've got Fu from Thailand, YK Motorsport, shorten his name for us, and Thomas Yu Lee, who slipped off the track yesterday and will be still kicking himself. Vincent Tai for Arrows Racing, and Ji Hee for Madness Racing Team. That Chinese team has got a lot of cars in this field. And then Song and Ji on row number 5, a pair of AMs. So they'll have their own little battle alongside each other for points. And Jason Chen, Madness Racing Team, and Selim Rafiq, who's got Jasmine Jafar to do the second part of this race. It's a 50-minute race, and of course he'll come in as early as possible because Jasmine's very quick. Superchite just lost out on the... he was an outside chance for the Lamborghini Cup class, and he just didn't quite get it together yesterday, alongside the LC champion, the Zerial O brothers, and then Dr. Ma and Kuma Prabhakat. Look out for him, because his car is starting on the treaded tyres. And Weron Tan got it going for Camlong Racing from the back of the grid. Expect him to make progress, but I really will be interested to see what Kumar can do, because the opening laps when the fields are tightest is when he's going to have the advantage. Then it's going to fall away because this track will dry. Lots of it's still in the shade at the moment, but the sun's risen and it looks like the sort of day you'd expect in southwest Spain at the end of November.
Yeah, for sure. Prabhakan will definitely be on the attack early on. He should have an advantage over the first few laps, especially in the LB Cup class, where the guys are going to be a little bit more timid with these changing conditions.
Now, we're just looking at the chicanes, turns 11, 12 and 13. You can see how damp it is on the painted curbs, but those are the curves you have to cut to get the shortest line through. And it's also about when car comes back down to terra firma, you know, how you control it. Oh, dear, we've already had a rotation, and that's the Madness Racing team. That's Harry, as he's called, Jing Yang He, and he's rotated. Just trying to see where that may be, but let's hope that Madness Racing team car can get hooked up again. And those watching on from the pit garage is hoping their driver is going to get round.
They're going to do another lap.
That was a very late signal from race control, and you can see the Urus about to peel in the pit lane. Good car control there.
Yeah, Gino's pretty handy.
You're playing with a lot of horses with that, so that's a very sensible decision from Alain Adam, who's the race director. And in fact, for a lot of the drivers, they won't mind an extra formation lap, because it just means another chance to assess just how greasy, how slippery the track is. It's just coming up to 9 in the morning, and the race should be kicking off soon, and hopefully 277 can get turned around, but in the right sense, and get going, because that was due to start from 9th on the grid. That was right in the heart of the sort of bunch of cars that were sitting mid-grid. But
so he spun at T8, which is quite a fast, long left-hander, so it's easy to do when you're on cold tyres. You know, it's quite a fast corner. The car's under a lot of load, so when your tyres are just not up to temperature, it's easy just to have a bit of a moment there and have a spin. You
know, it's quite strange. This is my return to Jerez after a very, very long time, and the thing that really struck me when I watched the first practice sessions, I just marked out turn 8 as a really tricky corner. Then yesterday when it was wet, that was proved, but luckily this driver stayed away. Not this driver, the driver stayed away from the barriers. This is our pole starter, Jonathan Chicotto, all concentration. He's not driving through lots of chicanes. Of course, he's trying to get heat in the tyres. The track temperature is almost identical to air temperature. It's 14.7 degrees. A lot of time, these drivers in this championship, particularly the Asian Championship, are racing on tracks that are 50 to 60 degrees track temperature. So finding grip on their Hankook tyres is going to be a real challenge for all of them. But this extra formation lap gives them an extra chance to really, really work their rubber.
Yeah, for sure. And drivers like Johnny Chicotto and Emilian Card and some of these European guys obviously have a bit more of an advantage because they will have raced in Europe previously to racing in Asia, so they understand what the car does in these conditions. For some of the Asian guys, it's their first time racing in Europe in colder climates, so much like yesterday, they're just building on that experience of what it's like on a cooler track.
And you know what? As a racing driver, to get all these different experiences is part of the package, isn't it? You're a more complete driver, but it's also just experience. Can I conquer these cold conditions? Now, if you're just joining us right now, you're thinking, why are people racing on a Friday? Well, we enjoy it so much, we race through Thursday as well. This is the final round of the 3 international Super Trofeo series. The Asian series we're looking at here, the European series, which is so big, the entry, it's 40+ cars, they have to split the grid, so we've got 2 races for that, and the North American series. So their penultimate race was yesterday. This is the final race of their final round, round number 6. And then the next 2 days, the weekend days at Jerez, are going to be for the World Finals. So you can go away with double accolade if you have a good weekend. But right now, the driver's coming around. The clock has started. The races are 50 minutes, but this extra formation lap is coming out of that time. The drivers, majority of the crews are 2-driver crews. Some are solo drivers. They have to make a pit stop between 20 and 30 minutes into the 50-minute race. There's the car that was stone last, trying to catch up. He'll do it. Going to be on their tail
he should just about do it
soon. But yeah, he's going up to turn 9. He's got through his nemesis, turn 8, and the other cars are bunching up. They're going to have their rolling start. The Urus, the safety car, will pull out of the way. Looking in the background shots, see if we suddenly have the Madness Racing car close in, not quite on the tail of the group, but he may yet get there. They've got to go up to turn 15, that left-hand hairpin onto the start-finish straight, get into 2x2 formation, just as Noah liked with his arc. His arc came out yesterday, I reckon. And then, of course, wait This time, the Urus does peel into the pit lane, so Jonathan Cecotto with the sort of lighter red nose, quite difficult, 2 red and white cars on the front row, but he will be starting on the pit wall side from pole. Bit more heat in his tyres going to turn 15, just working away. And the car that's spun, that should be starting mid-grid, has caught the back of the train of cars. So let's see, as they come round the corner, looking up at the gantry on the start-finish straight, what colour are the lights? They cannot get going until the lights go from red to green. It looks like a nice, tidy pattern in behind all 17 cars. The volume goes up, and Miki Koyama has made a good start, but Jonathan Cecotto is just, he was half a car length, and he's come across. Is Koyama going to tough it out up the inside? She's cautious, but Jonathan Cecotto goes wide. This is the moment. Miki Koyama hasn't won a race this year, so many podiums, got into the lead. A little bit of a clash further back. One of the Madness Racing Team's cars has lost a wing mirror, I think, but that was Jonathan Cecotto not quite far enough to pull across, trying to go across, going back out again, and Koyama just kept her foot down, got in and got the braking done. Jonathan is going to be thinking, hold on, now I've got to, this isn't the script I wanted, I was going to pull clear. He's got the skill, he's got to pick the moment.
Yeah, I think as well that safety car didn't help him. He's obviously lost time where he would have liked to have built a gap for his less experienced teammate, so this is definitely not what he had in mind. It looks like he's maybe struggling a little bit with his tyres as he's having to defend from the car behind. Who is that? It's Brian Lee. Brian Lee's on the attack.
Well, he really is. He doesn't
P2 overall.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to care that he's an am. He's trying to go for second. So this is definitely, I said it's not the script Jonathan Cecotto would have got, but Brian Lee has been getting faster and faster. And while he's having to fight, Miki Koyama's going, well, this is just what I want. Look, she's a 1.5 seconds clear at this point on the opening lap. Up to turn 8, Brian Lee, has he got enough grip to go through there? Being on the tight inside line in that battle for second place was not what he wanted. This is turn 8, actually, that was turn 7 they're going through. But Koyama, this is her start of dreams. She's probably nearly 2 seconds clear now. Track, if you're looking, it may look dry, it's not, it's damp. You can see the puddles off the edge of the circuit, and the driver in 4th place is Emilian Card. He started 3rd, he doesn't want to be back in 4th, so I think Brian Lee's not really caring about Emilian Card. He's looking at this man, Jonathan Cecotto.
Brian Lee is just on an absolute charge. His championship's done. He is just having an absolute field day now. Yeah,
it's worth reiterating, we've got the pros, the pro-ams, the AMs and the Lamborghini Cup runners. And in both AM and Lamborghini Cup, in case of Brian Lee and the Zariello brothers, they got their championship won yesterday, and it's an entirely different pressure. Now they can go out and have fun and not really mind if they get knocked off in the end. They can take more risk.
100%. Once you've sealed the championship, today is just essentially more practice and a bit of fun for preparing for the weekend.
Okay, I reckon that Koyama was...
What's that? 207.
Yeah, well...
Drive-through.
Okay, not following instructions. Okay, so field coming around.
That shouldn't affect anything. I think they're fairly far down, aren't they? 207. They're already coming in on this lap, so...
Sorry, I got jumbled. It's actually Jonathan Cecotto who's leading, not Miki Koyama. I was convinced she went up the inside. Maybe she got across and she was the one that ran wide. But I did say 2 red and white cars look quite
exactly.
similar.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe that Koyama had gone from 2 to 3.7 seconds clear. So let's clarify that and hold up my hand.
Yeah.
We didn't spot the pair of them, but certainly it was that challenge into the first corner, and I guess that sort of also makes a little more if one of those drivers is going to go wide, it would be the less experienced one. So anyhow, Jonathan Cecotto now, well, 3.7, no, it is 5.9 seconds clear, so he's doing what he did in the second half of yesterday's race, and he's streaking clear. So Changwon, or Brian Lee as he likes to be called, up into second place. Miki Koyama in 3rd, 0.7 of a second back in that battle. Emilian Card, and then there's a big gap back to car number 209 in 5th place, YK Motorsports, and it's Dechathorn Puakorut, or Poo. And everybody just feeling their way. Fastest lap of the race so far, of course, Jonathan Cecotto, 2.3 seconds. But we got them down to about 1 minute 51, I think, yesterday in the driest conditions. And look, the sun is now starting to warm the track. Its temperature is almost 15 degrees. It's gone up 0.2 of a degree. Gosh, that's like a heat wave.
Yeah, you'll find that the lap times will just keep falling throughout the day as the track dries out and then the rubber starts to be laid down. The track will just keep developing and improving all day, every lap, every race.
Yeah, and then who knows what pace we'll get on Saturday and Sunday for the World Finals, because the drivers will be far more accustomed to it. And at the end of the next lap, 7.7 seconds. Jonathan Cecotto absolutely rocketing clear. So again, apologies for misidentifying the cars up into the first corner. But Miki Koyama can do nothing about Brian Lee. Fastest lap, Jonathan Cotto, 2:01, followed by a 1:59. The focus, looking for grip, where a lot of the other drivers, the less experienced drivers, can't find it as yet, but it will come. The track's warming, they're warming up.
He's very confident. You can see how relaxed he is. He's focused, but he's super relaxed. So you just know he's just absolutely 100% faithful in his ability to just attack.
Well, how is that? He's almost got the entirety of the back straight from turn 5 to turn 6 as an advantage over the second place
Brian
car.
Lee up to second.
Yeah, Brian Lee made that move.
Didn't see that. Sorry, I missed that. That's fantastic.
Short while ago, and he's stretched his margin 3.5 seconds over Miki Koyama, so that the first... now, 2:95. We saw that going slowly, and then suddenly it's off the circuit. That's at the final corner, turn 15. I don't know if there's been a problem there. That's the 6:10 racing by absolute entry of Ji Wenjun, but in the gravel. Now that has triggered the yellow banner. That means safety car, because that's not quite straight ahead for the drivers, but it's sort of driven in there. I can't quite work that one out. Doesn't look as though it's rotated on its way in, but here comes safety car driver. Got quite a lot of action yesterday, but yesterday, I must point out, was not what you'd expect. The weather was pretty grim. It went... Well, I tell you what, let's go down while the safety car is out. Marietta Evans is on the move. Marietta.
And congratulations are in order, because you and your brother have clinched the title in Lamborghini Cup.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been exciting. This is our second year in Lamborghini. We're excited to finally got it. Last year we got second, so this year we got first. Yeah, we're very excited.
Where do you feel you and your brother have developed and improved as drivers to clinch the title this season?
I think because Absolute Racing has pushed us very much. We did a few endurance races to push out our skill and level. So I guess the result is seen. So here we are winning it. So yeah, we have improved a lot in the last year, for sure. Yeah.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you so much.
So the Zariolo brothers. And it's Harry and his brother Hazik is in the car at the moment, but they really do enjoy their racing, do as much as they possibly can around Southeast Asia, but coming to race in Europe, you know, it's something different for them. And again, just going back, they were one of the pairs that wrapped up a title yesterday, and it's just a different mindset. A bit like Jonathan Chikotto's got a different mindset from everyone else, because he's now... Actually, I tell you what, he had a slower lap. I wonder if he of course he has, because of course the safety car came out, he responded, but that means that Brian Lee has got right onto his tail. So remember, they had almost turn 5 to turn 6 advantage from Jonathan Chikotto, and then it's come back down. And the way Brian Lee's driving, I think he fancies a crack at the restart, and so Jonathan Chikotto, better watch out.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't put it past Brian from watching him yesterday. He's definitely aggressive and likes to attack, so I'm sure Johnny will have it covered, but, you know, just keep your eye on in your right mirror as you enter turn 1. This definitely is not what Johnny wanted. He wanted a clean, green first stint to, you know, nearly close of the pit window to build as much of a lead to give Gavin the best chance possible to just get out there and do some consistent laps. So this is not helping the car 211, but at the end of the day, you have to deal with the cards you're dealt on the day.
Yeah, no, totally. Actually, I'd really love to take a look at the restart to work out how we both of us managed to misidentify Jonathan Chikotto. I mean, the way the car that went into the lead was being driven, it looked as though it was him, but then just you know, we thought he'd run wide. Anyhow, right now what he wants is this safety car to withdraw as soon as possible, because the clock continues to tick down. He's going to drive until it probably has 21 minutes remaining on that clock. Then he'll dive in. He'll stretch. Oh, good. They were really effective yesterday.
I reckon
the Marshals.
Safety car, this maybe even in this lap, because there depends what.
Yeah, well, the field is just going up between turns 9 and 10. And then there's the run down through the chicane, 11, 12, 13, fast right-hander at 14, and hopefully when, well, it's fingers crossed. It's either going to be this lap or the next lap, but this is the job that Jonathan Chikotto's got to do. He's got to look, are the lights on the roof bar of the safety car, and then he can dictate how the restart happens. He can hang back. Here's Brian Lee running in AM, making a mockery of it in so many ways. His talents, the Korean drivers, have just grown and grown for SQDA Grit Motorsport. Lights still on. It'd be one further lap behind the safety car. It must be very close indeed. And you know, the race director wants them racing, but safety is absolutely everything. And I think it was probably a case they got the car out of the gravel, but they needed to move it behind the barriers. Yeah. You don't know where exactly that entrance is.
Yeah. And to be honest, sorry to jump in, after, you know, incidents like with Jules Bianchi.
Okay, now here's the start of the race. On the right-hand side of the screen with the lighter red nose, sorry, I thought he had the darker red nose, is Jonathan Cecotto. Making a challenge is Miki Koyama. Nice clean start across all 4 classes. Here we have another look as they get going. This is the rolling start, waiting. In fact, I tell you what, Miki Koyama could have been a little more level with him. But off we go and up to the first corner, and Jonathan Cecotto did run wide, but he fought back further. Maybe it was up at the next corner. Yes, indeed, that's precisely what happened. We didn't get to see that live at the time. There was a changeover. Anyhow, let's go down to the pit lane because Marietta Evans working as hard ever. Marietta.
Andre, such an important race for you guys to clinch that Pro-Am title. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, we are feeling good. You know, it's the last race of the season. And I think we did a very good season so far, and now it's just the last race, and we need to do our best. And yeah, let's hope, fingers crossed, everything goes well.
Do you think you'll have some cars to overtake, some work to do when it's your turn to take it to the track?
Our main competitor is ahead of us at the moment, so yeah, it's going to be a tough one, and I'm ready.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Very, very safe pair of hands. Super experienced Andre Couto, but the big problem there, the team that was challenging, which is Thomas Yuli and Nicholas Bertolatti. Thomas put it off yesterday, so scored 0 points. That's why they're starting today 11 points down. And again, 15 for a class win, 12-10. So you can see that it falls away quickly. And right now, Thomas is ahead of them on the track, Thomas Yuli. But I think Andre Couto quietly confident there.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, safety car in this lap. Yeah, they dropped 11 points. You know, they dropped all those points yesterday, which has damaged their chances.
It certainly has. Right, you can see Jonathan Cecotto dropping back. He's seen the lights are off, and here goes the safety car peeling in. Driven very well, that I must say. Just doing the job required, diving in the pit lane. It's sort of hidden part of motor racing, but you need people who drive the safety cars, racing drivers who understand and they can go to what the race director wants. He's got the field bunched up behind him. Jonathan Cecotto needs good exit from that corner, and he's got a better exit than Brian Lee. Went early. That's experience. That's talent. And the big worry for him was that Brian Lee would be close enough to challenge into the first corner. Job done. Now, anyone else behind, you expect them to be line astern, but the first chance was for Brian Lee. But also, as you race with other drivers, you get to learn, are they going to take a risk and challenge? And so there was no need to be concerned because the Gamma Racing car pulling clear for the Jonathan Cecotto. And now over the next 12 minutes or so, his job is to stretch the lead. And look, he's gained 1.5 seconds already. Wow.
Yeah, he's just going to now have to do 4 or 5 real qualifying laps, right up to the pit window, clean driver change, and then hopefully Gavin can just be nice and consistent. And they've just got to rely on some of the cars they're racing in the championship to have a bad day. But unfortunately for them, they just have to take it race by race because it's out of their hands now, you know, the overall result. They just have to do the best they can with what they've got.
Yeah, and as much as Jonathan Cecotto is sort of breaking clear, you know, he's 12 points down in the championship, and the car Miki Koyama is driving in 3rd place, but being challenged quite hard by Emilian Card is 11 points down. But the car running 4th, well, the championship surely will come to the co-driver of that because Emilian Card, who's driving it, missed one of the rounds, but standing in the pits, possibly jumping up and down. Dan Wells has almost got his hands on the title, but it's funny when you've got Emilian Card in the blue and black car there. He wants to get past. He's doing that racing driver thing, but he doesn't need to. Doesn't mean he's not going to try, though.
No, of course. As a driver, you always want to be in front. You always want to pass. You always want to race. That's what we do. That's what we love. But in his mind, psychologically, he will be taking it a little bit easy because it's not even his title at stake. He is racing for his teammate and his friend. So if he crashes the car, he ruins the title challenge for Dan. So I'm sure as team owner, friend and drive partner, he will not want to do that to Dan.
No, certainly not. I mean, what do you do in that situation when you've junked your friend and colleague's chances? You just take the steering wheel off and just walk away over the hilltop, never to be seen? Yeah,
I think you'd probably walk into Jerez town and buy a couple of alcoholic beverages and probably return later in the weekend.
Yes, when you're loose enough to pronounce. But anyhow, Emilian Card's had a really, really good season, but he just missed one of those races for the DW Evans team. That was the last time out in Shanghai in the middle of September. And boy, was there some rain in that. It was absolutely phenomenal. Imagine you're pelting down one of the longest straights in motor racing, that back straight the Shanghai International Circuit. You get to the hairpin, you quite like to turn right, but your car isn't even in contact with the track, just sitting on top of the water, aquaplaning. But the drivers did well, a few spins, they didn't seem to hit anything. But Tokyo doing well, fastest lap, 1:55.5. And again, he's got half the length of that back straight down to turn 6 as an advantage. Brian Lee untroubled, Miki Koyama in behind, and then Emilian Card. Lights on, that classic case of trying to sort him out, but no pressure behind them. There's a 6-second gap back to the second of the AM runners, which is Fu, car number 209. He hasn't got too much pressure because Thomas Yu Lee, we're talking him, he's leading the Pro-Am class. Those are the ones with the yellow flashes, but well, I think it's sort of all under control in that class at the moment because Chen is only 1, 2, 3 places further back, and that's the car that's being shared with Andre Couto, the Madness Racing entry. Jason Chen driving that at the moment. So he's just got to keep a sort of weather eye on what's happening up ahead.
Yeah, I think the Pro-Am could get quite exciting in the second stint because we've got, you know, a couple of the fast guys getting in the 288 and the 208. So I think, and as they're running together now, they're probably going to stop similar sort of time, so could get quite exciting. Yeah,
208 you were talking about there. It's running 10th. Selim Rafiq at the wheel, but he's got a very, very quick compatriot about to take over, Jasmine Jafar. So look out for the yellow and white car. It's sort of split down the middle, yellow one side, white on the other. There we are, at the back of that pack, of that little 5-car group. So that's 6th, which is Thomas Yu Lee, leading the Prime class through to the driver 3rd in that class, Selim Rafiq. And wow, anything could happen in this. The good news is the track is drying out all of the time. Track temperature finally over 15 degrees, so it's not soaring up, but drivers now quite comfortable. 25 seconds and the pit window will open. Oh, a move. This is in that 5-car pack. And 256, that's Thomas Yu Lee, has just been passed by Vincent Tai. Has the move been completed?
Yeah, well done. Nice and aggressive there on the outside. He didn't have the move fully done, but he kind of dummied a little bit to the inside just to show that he was having the line, even though he was on the outside, and then he took the corner.
Now, Jack, you were talking yesterday about this is such a technical circuit, quite tight and twisty, certainly from turn 8 until you come to turn 13, that little 3-part chicane. But a move on one corner can easily have consequence on another. You've got to, you know, it's not a big, smooth, fast opening, you know, open corner part of the circuit, but it's very technical.
Yeah, definitely. You kind of, the first sector's quite tricky. Then you have a few kind of flowing corners, but kind of turn 3, 4, 5 all lead on to each other. So if you are racing and you're offline or a bit slow through one, it can affect the next one, and then you get a bad run onto the back straight, and then you're vulnerable into turn 6. So you really have to kind of plan where you want to make your passes round here.
And also we saw obviously on the opening lap that Miki Koyama, having got the lead into turn 1, just couldn't get it to turn into turn 2, and then she was down in the pack. All of a sudden, Jonathan Chicotto, driver of this car, escaping. He's 8.8 seconds clear. Just went, I thank you very much, in every language I can think of, and off he goes. There, now, let's look. That's the leader going through. Wait. We're waiting for Brian Lee to come through turn 15, but he's diving in, or is he diving into the pits? Let's see.
No.
Koyama and Card have gone through. No. Brian Lee crosses start finish line. He'd be over 10 seconds down. 11.4 seconds. Now, this is what happens. You know, when drivers are about to pit, that's always the moment they like to pounce, of course. And Emilian Card in 2-3, Miki Koyama in 2-3-2, and Emilian Card about to swap paint. But I must say, Miki Koyama doesn't let herself get abashed as other people come through. She really holds track, that's why she's had such good results this year. No win as yet. This is their final chance, her final chance, along with Charles Leong in the Asian series, but it may yet happen. But we've got to see what Gavin Huang can do when he takes over from Jonathan Chicotto.
Yeah, Gavin seemed pretty fast as well yesterday. You know, in the first stint early on, he was really pushing. So again, I think it's going to be exciting up in the pro class as well this second stint.
So the pit stops, I'll just reiterate, this is the car that we've got Dan Wells has been slotted into. Emilian Card is about to close the door. Right, from pit in, when you have to slow down to 50 kph, to pit out, if you've got a 2-driver team, therefore with a driver change, it's a minimum time of 86 seconds. Yesterday in quite a few of the races, people cut just under that and then got a time penalty. But if you're a solo driver, you have to be stationary for, from pit in to pit out, 3 seconds longer.
Oh, that's not a great stop for Miki Koyama.
Oh dear, they're second in the championship. Okay.
They came in together, didn't they? Emilian Card and Miki Koyama came in together, but they didn't leave the pits together. So I don't know, unless they've already left.
Well, we'll take a look at the spotter around the track. Now looking at Andre Couto, the Macanese driver. He's the driver sitting quite pretty in the leading the Pro-Am class. Now almost overtaking as they leave the pits. The stewards will be looking at that, but pit exit line. Well, let's go down. We talked about Emilian Cardi, and he's with Marietta.
A very important day for your team because Dan could clinch today the Pro title, and you had the responsibility of taking that car for the first stint. How did it go?
That was tough on track, to be honest. I was struggling a lot with the traction. The conditions are better than yesterday, but I think we will have a better second stint with Dan. We beat the tire pressures, so he will have a better car for sure.
And I also wanted to ask you, what did it mean for you this year to be part of the Super Trofeo Young Drivers program?
It was an honor because initially I was meant to race in Europe. Eventually it didn't turn well. And I mean, this whole season has been all up and downs. On the sports side, it has been very good. Just a shame that I missed Shanghai. But it has been an honor. It brought me a lot of experience in the car. So I hope to finish on a high.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marietta. So Emilian Cardi, you know, he's one of many drivers who, for various reasons, like to keep your career going, has headed out to Asia, found a really rich challenge out there. And I mean, to be driving with Dan Wells, who knows those circuits so well, it hasn't hurt his career, has it?
Definitely not. I think, you know, it's easy to be in a European driver to think, oh, I've got to race in Europe. But actually, you can go to Asia or America and the tracks are unbelievable. You can pick up all these new experiences. The climate's different cultures. For me personally, racing in Asia for 2 years was amazing. The people, the tracks, like I say, the culture of all the different countries is just fantastic to experience as a young driver.
And you got all those air miles as well.
Exactly that. And you hear Emilian Cardi just then mentioned about tyre pressures. So they obviously went quite low on the tyre pressures, which meant for a damp track to start with would have been quite tricky for him, hence why maybe he was sat in fourth. But now Dan is going to have a car he can really go and challenge with.
Absolutely. So the target, in terms of trying to set fastest laps, is 1 minute 51.5, Jonathan Cecotto. He's got to come in pretty soon. He's staying out as long as he can. This is a battle further back. 2:05 moving around on the track. That's the Zeriolo brothers. And let's go and join Mariette again. She's got Thomas Lee.
Thomas, whatever happens on track today, there could still be an opportunity for you guys to clinch the Pro-Am title.
Yes.
How are you feeling about it? How is how feeling as well?
Honestly, not until the very end. I don't want to talk about the result, just because we don't have a crystal ball, right? But you know, during that last stint, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone was still in the same situation where it was being very indecisive in terms of wet tire or the slicks. So at the end, everyone in the team were like, you know what, let's go for it. Just because I think the condition of the track is getting better and better. But during my stint, I mean, I tried my best. You know, I mean, I'm not the greatest driver apparently, you know, but all I can say is just focus on yourself, and then you know, I make sure I bring the car back home safe, and then, you know, and then carry around to my co-driver. So that was it. Yeah.
But you guys have been very strong all through the season. How do you feel with the year overall?
Overall, I'd say, you know, it is my first time driving the Super Trofeo series, and I have to say I had a great time. You know, it's not an easy car to drive. I mean, most people might think it's, you know, it looks like it might have a lot of aero, but again, the car is very heavy. So in terms of driving techniques, I mean, you definitely have to do a lot of practice before you can actually, you know, have more confident driving on these type of conditions. Especially coming out to Spain, I mean, you know, we're dealing with rain, we're dealing with a lot of unknowns, and today, first in the morning, I mean, we're literally the first group out, right? So, you know, finding the decision on tire making is just tough. Yeah, but I'd say, you know, I had a great time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marietta. That's Thomas Lee. He's got his teammate Nicholas Pertelati out, running in a similar position, third in the class. Really interesting onboard footage there, because driver of this car, 2:11, about to come in, I would suggest, at the end of this lap. Jonathan Cecotto, just taking different lines to everyone else, carrying so much pace around the outside of the long turn 5 onto the back straight. Any corner, another one here, turn 7. Just total confidence. And his best lap, he didn't beat it with the following one. He was within 25 thousandths of a second. So he is running at the maximum, his maximum. He won't improve that fastest lap because he'll peel into this pit first this time around, and Gavin Huang will be going, great, what's my advantage? Brian Lee pitted last time around, but the gap between them was at nearly 20 seconds. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, Johnny's done exactly what he needed to do, what he obviously knows he's capable of. Yeah, again, sign of a good driver is consistency. The fact you can deliver very similar lap times every lap is no good doing one good lap and then being 3-4 tenths slower the next lap. You need to be able to deliver the laps every lap. He's done all he can now. Unfortunately, the safety cars probably lost them. Maybe the gap would have been 30 seconds, but he's done all he can. Now, hopefully, Gavin can jump in the car and do the business.
Yeah, in fact, I probably rather exaggerated the time because that was compared, 20 seconds included Brian Lee peeling into the pit lane, but let's take 5 seconds off. But he built about a 15-second advantage, and Gavin Huang in, Jonathan Cecotto out. But that's been a great run for Lamborghini Taipei.
Yeah, so the mechanics will just adjust the pressures.
Well, let's go down because Marietta's moving like a greyhound in the pits, and she's got Jason Chen.
Jason, first of all, talk us through your stint this morning.
The track is still wet. I do my best, and I give the goodwill to my team video. Yes, and yes, I think today I do my best, so I think we can win my group. Yes.
What would it mean for you and for Andre to clinch that Pro-Am title? What would it mean for you?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Jason Chen, Fang Ping, to give him his full name. One of the drivers has come on really, really fast because he was racing touring cars a couple of years ago in China. He stepped up to these Super Trofeo cars. And for a lot of drivers, that first season is quite a shock. And it was very interesting hearing the previous interview talking about the weight of the cars from Thomas Lee and how you have to become accustomed to get the aero to work for you. But every type of car, whether you go in these, step up to GT3, they do things differently. They might look quite similar externally, but they do really require a different way of driving.
Yeah, every car is different. If you're coming from touring cars, which quite often can be front-wheel drive and a lot less power, is a totally different driving style. The Super Trofeo versus the GT3 is totally different. They look very similar, but they are totally different cars. Underneath the bodywork, the aerodynamics, the tyres, the suspension, the brake, everything is different. So you have to adapt that style. The Super Trofeo is a very tricky car to drive. It's a fantastic car. 640 horsepower, unbelievable car, especially for young drivers and gentlemen to develop their skills, but it can be quite tricky. So yeah, you really need to work hard, especially if you're an AM driver, working with your professional and hone in on those skills.
Charles Leong has just hopped aboard 232, took it over from Miki Koyama. You were worried they'd had a slow pit stop, but actually they had actually left. He's got the gap. He just banged in the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 50.6. Bear in mind the best we had from Jonathan Cecotto was 1:51.5. The track is drying. Of course, the second driver has the advantage. They may have adapted the tyre pressures to find that extra performance as the track is drying out. I mean, it's not coming forward leaps and bounds, but Charles Leong is absolutely flying. I reckon he will close the gap, but what have we got left? We've got 18.5 minutes. Can Gavin Huang hang on to take victory? Well, we're going to have to wait and see. Jonathan Cecotto has laid down all he can, but bear in mind, Huang and Cecotto came here third on points, 12 points down on the title lead. Leong, who we've just been looking at, is 11 points down. So really what Dan Wells does, he's going to be chasing them, but he doesn't have to chase too hard. If he comes third overall, he'll pick up 10 points. Title in the bag.
Yeah, Dan's just got to finish and that's the job done for him. He's done enough all season, so he's relaxed. He can finish third, great. If he can chase them down and finish higher, again, great. For the other guys, there's 1 point between them, so it's basically whoever finishes ahead wins. So obviously for the guys chasing, it's all or nothing really. It's really is going to be down to the wire.
Yeah, so they're fighting effectively to be runner-up in the pro class. In the Pro-Am class, well, the car that's leading it is 288. Andre Couto, we heard from his teammate Jason Chen a short while ago. Jasm Jafar, the yellow and white car, I said he'd be on the charge. He most certainly is, and he's all over the tail of Andre Couto.
Yeah, I did mention that. I said the second stint would get tasty in Pro-Am, and you've got these two very experienced guys now. Oh, looks like the move is happening already. Oh, no. He ran a bit wide.
Semi-unseating, and Nicholas Bertolatti's caught right up with them as well. So the first 3 cars in the Pro-Am class, there are 4 of them in the class today, are nose to tail near enough. Bertolatti's going to hang on for a little bit. He's almost caught them, but now I think if Jafar can get through, I think he'll then get away. However, he hasn't got through. Well, one of the star drivers of the race was Jonathan Cecotto. He started from pole, lost the lead fleetingly, took it back at turn 2, and then stretched clear. He's with Marietta.
Jonathan, can you talk us through a very, very powerful first stint and that great start?
Yeah, just like I mentioned, I like these conditions quite a lot. This is how I finished the race yesterday. So I started off where I finished yesterday. The pace was good. And yeah, now it's all in the hands of Gavin. I'm sure he will do a good job. So let's hope to stay in the lead.
You have obviously been helping Gavin this season. Where do you feel you have helped him to progress as a driver? Where do you think he has learned and improved?
I think it's a little bit everywhere. It's not one thing in particular. It's a general package. You know, the driver, to be fast, he needs to have a list of many features. And I'm helping Gavin step by step reach the full potential of all the features.
Good luck.
Well, he was asked to do a job, he did the job, held back by that safety car, otherwise the margin would be greater. But now the gap, well, I tell you what, it really has come tumbling down, because it's down to just 5 and a bit seconds. Got a car running through the pits. I think someone's picked up a drive-through penalty there. But Gavin Huang is going to have to carry on. When I said 5 and a bit seconds, it's down to 4.2 seconds. It's coming down, down, down. You could just see that graphic at the bottom of the screen showing the enormous gain. So here's Gavin Huang, car 211. He's this is where the extra time that could have been built up by Jonathan Cecotto got taken away by the safety car, closing the pack right up. Now, this is where Gavin Huang's going to have to really reach to new levels to see what he can do. Of course, it's the battle to be second in the championship, because the car running third, this car, is the one that you know, doesn't have to press too hard. Dan Wells is going to be pressing, because that's what he does.
Yeah, I think the only problem is, judging by the pace we're seeing, Charles Leong is, even if Johnny had built another 10 seconds, we still have 15 minutes of the race left. So I think it was unlikely he was going to hang on. You know, he's done a great job all year, and like, as Johnny said, he's improving every race, every weekend, and they're really working hard. But Charles Leong is super fast, and he's on the tack, and he has got the taste. He wants that first win of the season at the last round. It's the last opportunity, so he's going to be pushing harder than ever.
And you know, one of the things in a 2-driver race is it's about having the balance between the 2 drivers, having the car that sort of suits both of them. It's not always an easy thing, and just looking at Dan Wells finding the greasy outer area of the track, but he's got the experience to hook it back in. But we thought it was over and out when Jonathan Cecotto was escaping. Miki Kuyama caught in that battle for sort of 2nd, 3rd and 4th positions, but her teammate Charles Leong down to 1.4 seconds off the tail of the race leader. Traffic just immediately ahead of them. 2:11, our race leader Gavin Huang, but in the background using more of the curb, carrying more of the speed behind our commentary box. That's turn number 4. They've got someone tucked in just in front of the Zerial brothers, so that should be Harry, who's turned in without quite seeing Gavin Huang. All the momentum goes. This is the opportunity onto the long back straight. Now Gavin, our race leader, can go through, but in the slipstream, tucked him high. That was precisely what he didn't want to happen, and it did. Is there going to be a dive? Is it worth doing now? Charles Leong is way faster, locks up, backs off.
Yeah, he can be patient. He's got 13.5 minutes left. He's a couple of seconds a lap faster. Dan Wells is quite far behind. He just needs to bide his time, do a safe move, maybe the last corner, maybe the first corner, something like that, or, you know, pressure Gavin into a mistake and just slip up the inside. And it looks like, really, all things being equal, and that's exactly what we didn't want to happen. Oh, well,
who's going to come through to lead?
Looks like they're both going to get going again.
Well, that was quite extraordinary. Well, that's a shortcut between turn 8 to turn 10, missing out.
Oh, no, there's damage on Gavin Huang. He's got damage on the front left.
Yeah, well, that was the point of contact, unfortunately.
That's going to be game over.
It doesn't look like the steering's working too well, unless that was just greasy. Well, look at that bodywork rubbing front left corner, not doing
probably
anything
want to stop
at all.
there. The rim's on show. The tyres come off the rim, so he probably wants to stop or slow down a little bit.
Well, the extraordinary thing there is turn 8 isn't really a corner where you normally make an overtaking move. I'd like to have a look at the replay. He's got steering damage, and that means Dan Wells will have the title in the bag because he'll come through, because they're going to both pit, if they can even get into pit lane. Look, that front left wheel doing absolutely nothing at all. How unfortunate in this Asian finale. It was really shaping up. They were fighting to end second in the championship. The driver who's heading on to victory now surely will be Dan Wells. He was the one with it in his pocket, but Charles Leong and Gavin Huang just getting together at turn 8, spat off to either side of the circuit. Looked as though they'd both continued, but oh, the disappointment. You can just feel it, the ifs, the buts, the maybes, and the whys. I think he'll need more than just a change front wheel there.
I'm not sure.
Oh, maybe, actually.
It might just be a puncture, but it's probably where the bodywork has pinched the tyre from the contact, so I think that'll be maybe game over. I mean, at the end of the day, that's their championship title finish now. And that's exactly what I was saying about their 13.5 minutes. There was no need to rush the move where they did. He could have made the move at the last corner and driven away for a relative, probably the easiest win they could have hoped for.
Well, exactly, that win they've been fighting for all season. Now, let's take a look at making a challenge. That's turn 7, the left-hander. Now, I suppose, well, the cars were fully alongside and then going into 8. That is, it was on the way into 8. And
bit of a racing incident in my eyes,
wasn't it? I mean, it wasn't like one lunged at the other, but it was just, well, I
mean, Charles Leong kind of started to run towards the outside when Gavin Huang was still there, so he kind of didn't give him enough room. The car can't disappear into thin air. You're still there. So if Gavin had stayed slightly more to the left, he would have probably outbraked him into turn 9 and had the job done safely. So maybe a little bit clumsy from Charles Leong on the exit, but really it's a racing incident. These things do happen, unfortunately. Just obviously, you know, gutting for them. They were looking for their first win of the season. Probably would have been a guaranteed podium for Johnny and Gavin. So disappointing all round.
Yeah, and the 232, the assailant, if you must, Charles Leong's car, had that front wheel changed and back in the race. I thought they had proper steering damage as well, but unfortunately for Gavin Huang, that was the car that was hit, and that's sustained way more damage. He's not out of the car, so maybe there's some instruction that it can get going, but I think every second it sits there, it's more likely to, you know, the fingers across the throat, you might as well hop out. But the car that hit it back out on the circuit. So Dan Wells leading by only 1.1 seconds. We were talking about Brian Lee liking getting on the podium. Well, he's heading for another one. Can he improve on his best result? He's twice finished 3rd overall as an AM runner, and is just 1.1 seconds down. This is Johnson Huang, car number 251, running around in 9th place. He's running in the AM class. Now, where are the battles? Well, here's our race leader, Dan Wells, making it nice and easy. Going past 207, Howard Liu.
Yeah, Dan's just got to have a sensible last 10 minutes. Don't make any mistakes when picking off the back markers. It's easy when you're leading the race to just, you know, make these mistakes.
But as we can say, their outside is rated to 265 and 0.7 of second behind the next car in line. Just coming into shot there, Brian Lee, who just made a slight mistake going out of the hairpin at turn number 6. So he has got his tail up now. This is an opportunity for him not only to win a race, but win it as an AM driver, which is really quite extraordinary. But Dan Wells hasn't had to really take any risks at all in this. He's just being easy. Now he's suddenly had the gift that he's not just thinking 3rd place will be enough. A win, another win, the 4th win of the season. You know, that would go very, very nicely indeed for him. But 211 is going to possibly continue in the race. Jonathan Chicotto leaning in, and really, what's the point of continuing, I would suggest, because we've got 8 and a bit minutes remaining on the clock and a rotation. That's 263 going around. That is the driver who is heading for 2nd place. It's Brian Lee. Now he's going to lose loads of time. He's trying to get out of the way, not go in the gravel. He's going through.
Smart move.
Yeah, very clever, because it would be quicker to go onto the original track there, go through those sort of bollards. Now, why did he spin? Just get a little... Oh, went down the inside of 205. No, he's in the background. Okay, race leader Dan Wells, and then Zerial O just going across his
Tried to follow.
You know, where did Zerial... He couldn't just disappear into thin air, so that was maybe a little bit ambitious from Brian Lee. But then again, look, you're chasing your first ever win, and you've got to go for it.
Yeah, you know, that is an easy mistake to make. Brian is still new to car racing, new to Lamborghini. He's just, he could taste that win. He could see the race leader as an AM to fight for the overall win is, you know, really unheard of. So you can't blame him for having a go. And he's still probably going to finish 3rd overall potentially, or he could have a bit of a fight on his hands now. But you know, at the end of the day, you can't knock him for trying.
No, entirely. He'd already wrapped up his title yesterday. He was one of a couple of 3 drivers in the race. He had the Am Cup one yesterday, and the Lamborghini Cup. The Zariolo brothers also did that. 211 still sitting in the pit. That was the car that was right at the sharp end of the field. Gavin Huang hanging on, but unfortunately Charles Leong going up the inside into turn 8. But, you know, again, it wasn't a vicious move. It was a racing move, and you do have to try them. But it came unstuck at 265. Our pro champion is nearly there. 7 minutes remain. He had his challengers running ahead of him. That didn't matter. 3rd place points would have been enough for him to just put the title into his pocket. But Dan Wells continues on his way. We heard earlier from his teammate Emilian Cade in the pits, and he was quite relaxed and had reason to be so.
Ironically, looking at the points, I believe Emilian Cade will only miss out on 3rd place overall by 1 point. Which shows you how important getting those pole positions are when you can. So Johnny Giacotto's pole position yesterday has you know, allowed them to hang on to 3rd overall.
Yeah, and for missing the 2 races in the 5th round of the Asian Super Trofeo, that just cost Emilian Cade his place. But Dan Wells turned up, took a win there. So good to see people still happy in the pit lane and in the garages. But this sunny Friday morning at Jerez, the champion for 2024 has only 6 and a bit minutes remaining to go. He's found himself in the lead of the race when the lead battle came to blows 2 laps ago. And Dan Wells now relaxing. Christopher Lee, who was challenging him, is now down in 3rd place. And up to 2nd place, Jasmine Jafar running in the Pro-Am Championship. But again, that was a car that didn't take part in ironically, his home round, because Jasmine and fellow Malaysian racer Selim Rafiq didn't have a car for the opening race at Sepang, their local circuit. And that really has cost them their tilt at the Pro-Am title. But they put up a very, very good show in that. And, well, they're up on the podium, so Selim Rafiq will be delighted with that. Their best result so far has been a 2nd place and a class win when they were at Shanghai. But to do it again here on a circuit that neither of them know. Well, actually, Jasmine Jafar raced him here very fleetingly early in his career. But Gavin Huang, well, he's clearly planning to go back out. But we can't see what exactly they're doing on the car. But it doesn't look like high-speed work in many ways. But then again, he's got the World Finals to follow, so he's got to go out and feel confident again ahead of those.
Yeah, they might just go out just to, you know, just make sure there is no damage to the car. But, you know, there could be further damage underneath the bodywork that we can't see. So the team are probably just assessing that, and they'll make a decision. But there's only 5 minutes left, so they probably won't, you know, have much time to, if they have got anything to fix, to get out.
No, exactly so. And of course, the car that clattered into them, Charles Leong in 232, it's running in 8th place at the moment, right behind Kat Lee, and should pick them off in the remaining things, but under investigation for the contact with Gavin Huang. Well, that's standard procedure. We don't know what that means as yet. It's going to be investigated now, great latest message, after the race.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious, but if I was looking at it from a driver's point from the outside, being totally non-biased, I'd say there wasn't enough room given on the exit, especially as the nature of the corner, he could have held it tight.
Now, one of the stranger things in races, they can string out, and then suddenly we had 4 cars right together out. Here they are running between turn 15, the final corner, up to turn 1, and it's almost that people are going, this is the last 2 laps at the end of the season. I've got to keep pressing on, and that's a battle for effectively 9th, 10th, 11th, etc. So it's suddenly getting very, very busy. There will be place changes in these final few moments.
Yeah, definitely. When you come across back markers and there's a pack together at like this point in the race, is if you're the one, you know, trying to chase and attack people and you catch back markers, you want to try and use those back markers to help you close up on who you're racing. And likewise, if you're ahead, you want to use the back markers to try and put, you know, space between you and the cars you're fighting. So, but obviously with this, you've got 4 or 5 cars together, but they're actually not all in the same race. You know, some are being lapped, some are racing each other. So it can get a bit confusing when you're watching, but, you know, after a couple of corners, it all settles down.
Well, Andre Couto sort of in that. He's just very close to Pertilati. And then the bright yellow car is... who was it? It's Harry Zariolo. Having fun out there in 205. He's got the Lamborghini Cup title in his bag, but
there we go. Sorry, just jumping. What we saw just there from Andre Couto, that's exactly what we needed to see on that move that obviously ended in tears earlier in the race. He just held it a little bit tight out of turn 8, and then he did the job on the brakes into turn 9.
Yeah, so Couto running 5th overall, 3rd in the Pro-Am class. They just needed in that class to cruise and collect, and I think they will have done enough. Jasmine Jafar started this few points further back, and it's just not going to be close enough for them. But that is why in a Pro-Am class you have the pro going second so many times. 2:07 still pressing on. That's Hao Wen Luo, just been lapped. But our race leader, Dan Wells, 10 seconds clear into the final couple of minutes of the 2024 Super Trofeo Asia. Jasmine Jafar giving chase, but he's not going to haul that down in the last couple of minutes, so he'll take the Pro-Am win today. And Brian Lee back up into 3rd place, but he may not finish on the podium after all, because Nico Pertolatti, Pro-Am racer, the Finn, is really challenging him. But here comes Dan Wells, and there's an interesting thing. It's through the speed trap, 231 kilometers an hour. So that's about 146 miles an hour down that back straight. And then here comes Jasmine Jafar, who does appear to be closing in actually a little bit. But Dan Wells, he's just had such a controlled drive. He hasn't pushed it to the edge, hasn't needed to. When the first couple of cars had their clash, Gami Huang and Charles Leon getting together, he was promoted to take, well, what will be another win, barring disasters, but all under control. Here's Brian Lee. He's got Nicolas Pertolatti in behind. 263 is Brian Lee, heading for his third place as an AM, so that's fantastic. But remember, he was challenging for outright victory. He got so close to Dan Wells in the chicane, and unfortunately just maybe a little ambitious, had the spin and did the very clever recovery route using the old part of the circuit rather than waiting to do a multi-point turn and end up possibly in the gravel. But for Dan Wells, it's been just another great season, augmenting really why he went out to base himself out in Asia, because he's just really has lifted his racing career. And the team garages, they've got tomorrow to come, but still a couple of those titles to be settled. But Dan Wells has his hand firmly on the pro honours, and then 211 is suddenly pulling off. Oh dear, that's of course the car that had been fixed, but clearly went back out for Gavin Huang, and something amiss, and luckily didn't interrupt our race leader Dan Wells.
Yeah, you can see the front right tyre is towing in a lot, so there's obviously damage to the suspension from that impact earlier in the race.
Well, he found that very early, because we caught him just coming out of turn 1, so he's gone up the slope to turn 1 and slowed, but Dan Wells, no interruption for him.
No, Dan's had this is the race you dream of, you know. You're just kind of cruising around at the front, a nice lead, just controlling it, you know, even, you know, losing a bit of time each lap, but there's no need. He's got nothing to prove, nothing to achieve. He just needs to bring it home. He's done the job all year, won 4 races, got loads of points, you know, just bring it home safely.
Exactly so, but for all these teams, it might be the end of the Asian Super Trofeo, but they've got 2 more days here at the Circuito de Jerez for the World Finals as well. But for Dan Wells, he's would just focus on making sure the job was done, and he and his teammate Emilian Card did precisely that. They didn't need to tilt for ultimate victory. It's come their way rather than them necessarily grabbing it, but they did what they need to do. Emilian, you might say, how come Dan's going to be the champion, not Emilian? Emilian didn't turn up. He was busy, couldn't get to the penultimate round in Shanghai. And you would look at the points and said he's almost got enough to overhaul some ahead of him. But anyhow, for Dan, he knows this title will be in the bag. Last year, he won the Pro-Am Championship in Asia. And this year, he's stretching his legs again and going to put this one. This is the last lap. The end of the Asian season is very, very nearly upon us. And this is turn 15 out of 15, round the final corner. The 2024 Super Trofeo Asia champion, outright champion, the pro champion. His name is Dan Wells. And there is the finish line and the checkered flag. So job done very, very well indeed for him. Jasmine Jafar just 4 and a bit seconds down across the line to win the Pro-Am class today. But outright victory in the Pro-Am class across the season will be to the crew that come 3rd in class today. Andre Couto and Jason Chen. And Jason is certainly happy with life there. You know, there's still nervous moments. As we saw, cars can fail at any moment, but he got that under control. And 3rd place was just enough to put that one in the bag to take the Pro-Am title, and that's going to the Madness Racing team. So the teams get honours as well. We often just focus on the drivers, but, you know, it's a team effort. And Emilian Card, yeah, well, hey, you are not champion, but your teammate is, and you had a big, big part in that. So, yeah, happy. Will he be back here next year in Asia? We'll see, but certainly he's a driver who's spreading his wings.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sure he'll be very pleased, and, you know, albeit other than missing Shanghai, he is the champion, so he will share in the glory. Although he may not be on the, you know, on the list at the end of the year as champion. He obviously is, you know, been there for 80% of the events. So I'm sure they'll have a great, you know, afternoon celebrating and refocus, ready for tomorrow.
Now, one thing we talked about on the grid, I'll just go back to, one of the drivers started on wet weather tyres. That was Kumar Prabhakan. He was starting in the penultimate position. We didn't expect him to come to the front, but in fact, of course, the track dried out. So when he had his pit stop, he'd have changed onto slick rubber. He ended up down in 13th position, so it wasn't a giant gain, but it was worth trying. Something a little bit different. But
yeah,
for Dan Wells, just bringing it home, well, these are the moments when you've got a title in the bag and you can just cruise in. You know, he wasn't under huge pressure because he started today with an 11-point margin and a 12-point margin over the team in third place. But he did what was required of him. That was probably the slowest that you've seen Dan Wells race all year because he just didn't need to take the risk.
No, and they've still got the whole weekend of racing, and normally the World Finals is quite frantic, so why put extra stress on the car? Look after it. You know, it's been a long season, you've still got 2 more races, look after the engine, the gearbox, everything, you know, and obviously he wants to win the championship and he's done that, but his eyes are already on tomorrow.
Absolutely so for the World Finals. Arrows Racing taking victory in the Pro-Am class today, but not the title. But Yasemin Jafar, second overall. That's their second place in winning the class. They've won the class 4 times across this season. So he and his less experienced teammate Selim Rafiq doing a really good, solid job. And it was a tricky track this morning. It might have looked dried if you were looking from the outside watching on television around the world, but the track was greasy this morning and it was very cool. It's still only risen to just under 16 degrees, so we had a 2-degree shift, which isn't a great deal. Third place overall, another outright podium for this year's AM champion, Brian Lee, for SQDA Grit Motorsport. So he's just really made his name this year. And as the sun shines over the Circuito de Jerez this lovely morning in Spain, a lot of these drivers can breathe out, maybe consider a coffee, and then come back and have 2 days of racing in the World Finals as well. Some are learning the circuit, some were here in 2019, those days before COVID. But for Dan Wells and Emilian Card, victors today, the opening race of the Friday here at Circuito de Jerez. And that was a race where actually we had quite a lot of incident, didn't we? But it made it great fun, but to take a bit of analysis, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And what Dan and Emilian have done is the old adage of motorsport is to finish first you have to finish, and that is, you know, sometimes you've just got to bring it home and do the sensible job, take it easy and not have any incidents and just have a clean race, and that's exactly what they've done, and obviously they've got the win.
Certainly have. So Dan Wells just releasing the pressure there with a sort of animalistic roar on the roof of his car. But those moments, titles, you can be within touching distance, but it's only when you've got your hands fully on them that it really sinks in, because that's your target for the year, your target achieved. But of course, you racing drivers, they're building blocks to other things that may follow. But for Emilian Card and Dan Wells, the job very well done here, and they can enjoy the rest of the day watching the 2 European Series races, the final races of that championship, and likewise the North American. Assess their rivals, because of course they've got the 2 days of the World Finals following on Saturday and Sunday here. And I thoroughly enjoyed that race. Jack, thank you very much for joining me in the commentary box. It's always good to have someone come in. And let's go down. You're not doing the interviews in the pit lane, but Marietta Evans most certainly is. Marietta, over to you.
Dad, you finally made it happen, pro champion. How are you feeling right now?
Oh, well, yeah, what a race. It's been an amazing year with the DW Evans GT team. This is our second year. That's 3 championships we've won in 2 years. A big thanks to all the team. We had a big issue with a lot of our mechanics who got denied by the Spanish government, so I had to sort an entirely new team on Thursday. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Drivers Lab, Prosperity Investment Management, and my teammate Emilian Card, who did a super job out there in really tricky conditions. But amazing to win the championship. Drivers, teams, and yeah, I think it might move up in the drivers now as well. So amazing result.
Talk us through your stint. What was going through your mind in the last laps? How did you manage to have everything under control?
Yeah, so I knew Charles and I would be close on exit. We both left the box like right on the limit. I was right on him at the beginning, and the moment he had more pace, and I was like, I'm okay, you can go off. I'm happy with the championship, and we ended up with the race win as well. So huge thanks to the whole team, all of the drivers, Nick, Thomas, Emilian. Drivers Lab, we did all of our preparation, 2 days in Drivers Lab, the simulation centre in Dubai. So everyone on song, and what result.
And Emilian, congratulations go also for you as race winner.
Yeah, third race win for the season for me alongside Dan. It was fairly unexpected, but we had to keep it on track. That's the first rule of motorsport. In order to finish first, you must finish.
Superb. Well done, guys.
Thank you very much.
That's what it means. I didn't know about the fact they didn't have their team personnel come in. That is a massive scare ahead. But so extra award, and I think maybe that's why the sort of the bellow we heard from Dan Wells when he got on the roof, just showing that pressure is being released. But let's go down because the Pro-Am Championship has been won. They came 5th today, but Andre Couto and Jason Chen are Pro-Am champions, and Marietta, you have Andre.
And you guys made it happen too. You are our Pro-Am champion.
Yeah, it was a tough season. It was a good season for us. I think we are the fair winners. We missed one race in Fuji, so we lost a lot of points there. We didn't join, and now the race in Shanghai we could fight back, and then here we just could manage the distance of the point, and we finally won. So I'm very happy. It's also the first season for him, so he learned a lot, and hopefully next year we will be even better.
Now, can you tell me how happy you are?
I don't know how to say. I'm very happy, yeah.
You're saying it with your face. Well done, congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's Jason Chen and Andre Couto for Madness Racing Team. So they took the Pro-Am title. But again, you know, when you look at the grid, the cars look fantastic, sound brilliant. But sometimes it's easy to forget we have the 4 different classes. You have the pros at the front, often with the Pro-Ams running them. But with the Asian Series, you've got Brian Lee from the AM class running right at the front end of the field, and the Lamborghini Cup class as well. So plenty of battles to be fought. And fought they were over 12 races across 6 rounds. We'll see the final podium shortly. But that was an interesting race. They've done a very good job of drying out the track for those that follow. The temperature is going to creep up. And for a lot of these drivers, they've got 2 more days of racing here. They've learnt the circuit on the Wednesday in practice. They had the wet races yesterday. Drying race today. And here are the results at the end. Dan Wells, $1 million card. Card went first. Wells brought it home, taking outright victory. Selim Rafiq and Jasmine Jafar winning the Pro-Am class in 2nd place overall. A few more laps, you never know, but Dan Wells had it under control. 4 seconds was enough to take the win. And Brian Lee in 3rd place, winning the AM class, but he made a bid to try and take victory from Wells, had a spin, but coming back to yet another podium for the AM champion shows how strong his season has been. Top runners in the Lamborghini Cup class, there they are, Harry and Haziq Zerial O. Malaysian racers for Fortis Racing, run by Absolute. 11th place overall. We almost got all of them home. A couple of cars didn't make it. 15 finishers. And let's hope that for Gavin Huang and Jonathan Chakotto, their car that went back out after a long time in the pit lane can be fixed fully now with a little more time and be out and playing, because they'll be a factor in the World Finals on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I'm sure the mechanics will have that car in pieces, you know, now, and they've got the rest of today, and I'm sure they will have it ready and prepared to fight again another day tomorrow.
Well, they've shown good pace between them, and Jonathan Chakotto, definitely one of the quickest drivers here at Circuito de Jerez, and so the podium to follow. But first, let's take a look back at some of the highlights from the race. So that was some of the highlights from the first race of the Friday here at the Circuito de Jerez. That was the final race, the 12th race of the 6th round of Asian Super Trofeo. And we know the titles. We knew 2 of them yesterday. That was for the AM and the Lamborghini Cup class. But the outright title in the Pro-Am class is sorted in this final race. The podium ceremony to follow. And we'll wait to see who will be first springing out onto the podium. Cars will be wheeled away. They've got plenty more racing to come. This is the room in which the conversation happens. What happened in your race? How did you end up winning? Etc. Brian Lee in the middle there with the spectacles. He's had a fantastic season as our AM champion. Took a tilt at winning. It didn't come off, but that will only fire him up for next year. You can be sure of that. And it's a room full of hubbub, isn't it? Always after a race.
Yeah, you know, everyone's catching up with their own individual races, rehydrating and sharing stories and dramas and everything from the race, catching your breath, talking to your teammate, talking about how you can improve and go one better tomorrow, you know, in the World Finals. Yeah, it's always quite a nice place to be at the end of a race, where you want to be.
I think it is. You know, the drivers are still pinging with adrenaline, of course. You know, you try and keep calm. You've got the adrenaline on the grid, you've got the glory of the racing, but when you come out, it's that sort of physical release, isn't it? Particularly if it's a longer race and you're exhausted. Okay, after a race of 50 minutes, you should be tired, but not you know, needing to lie down anywhere, but still popping forward. But the driver who doesn't have adrenaline, of course, is Jonathan Cecotto, because his car did finish the race, albeit 5-6 laps down, had to be repaired. He did his part. It didn't lead to victory, but still interesting. Oh, that's interesting. There's the question of Nicholas Bertolatti. What happened to you? You know, how did you end up winning, etc.?
Yeah, for Dan Wells, it's not an easy job because he's team manager, you know, so he's got all the coordination of mechanics, engineers, the other drivers, as well as trying to drive himself. So he's got kind of 2 or 3 jobs on top of trying to drive. So, you know, and like he said, having to arrange new mechanics, different engineers, all this sort of thing is the sort of thing of nightmares. So to still come here and actually have a race win is pretty impressive.
Well, I think it's a story that needs to be told. It's one thing if you do it in your home country and you can rustle up people you raced with in years gone by who may just actually be free and not busy at the weekend, but to come here, I think he must have had to borrow from other teams, because you need people with knowledge of the Lamborghini Super Trofeo car. So I think some of the mechanics and engineers might be working for double pay this weekend, working for a couple of teams. Who knows? But it'd be really interesting for Dan to tell us there. But with the classic, what did you do with the steering wheel on that greasy, wet track? They're all telling different stories. Of course, it was far wetter where they were racing than where anyone else was. But the podium is to follow. And a little bit of breathing space this morning, and then we'll come back racing again for another final round in a different championship. And it will be the next one on the agenda. This morning will be the final Pro and Pro-Am class race for the European Series, and that will kick off at 11:35 local time. And then after lunch, we'll come back with the North American finale at 13:40, and then at 16:15 we'll conclude today's action with the AM and Lamborghini Cup classes of the European Super Trofeo. Cars leave the pit lane, but still the drivers are being very shy and not coming out onto the podium. The races aren't quite as close together. Yesterday they were rammed together, and literally as the podium ceremony was finishing for one, you'd get the start of the next race. It was wall to wall. But today, with all practice and qualifying out of the way, it's all about racing, and a lot of track action today for all sorts of super special Lamborghinis. And certainly, even when it was chucking with rain last night, we had some very, very quick cars, quicker than the racing cars, the supercars out on the track coming to play, and quite a lot of the drivers get a go in those as well to help out and demonstrate. Jack, are you demonstrating anything this weekend?
I believe, yeah, I will be involved in the track parade and probably some of the hot lap sessions. So it's always good fun for us when you're not actually racing. You still get to go and you know, get your teeth into something.
It's not as good as racing though, Jack. It's still good to fire you up, but you know, in your heart of hearts, I know and you know full well what you'd want to be doing most.
Yeah, of course, you always want to be actually in the race car yourself, but you know, sometimes, you know, if you're not actually competing in that series, you have to pick up other gigs like doing some commentary, which has been great fun for me this weekend.
Well, you've stepped in and taken it to like a duck to water, may I say, but it's great to have your eye as well. There are so many things I can spot in a race, or sometimes, as shown today, not spot, but then, you know, your experience. It's just also just passing over the knowledge of the feel of the car.
Yeah, definitely.
And the different levels of grip and where to go looking for it.
Yeah, there's things as a driver that you pick up over, well, for me, 17 years of racing karts and cars that you know from watching a race, and the attitude of a car on a track and the weather. You can just you pick things up naturally, and you just know what to say and what's going on inside that car that sometimes people watching don't know.
Yeah, but also, let's face it, drivers always come from the whole spectrum, and some people just are great drivers, but they can't explain things. Yeah. And, you know, it's something you have to learn, have to be taught, but some people are sort of absolute naturals at it and can remember their setup 25 years later, what they had at Donington Park and then what they had at Le Mans, etc., etc. Others, it's still they have to go and look it up. But, you know, it's great. Any knowledge that we can get as spectators, commentators, fans, you know, really, really welcome.
Yeah, especially because, you know, as far as motorsport goes compared to other sports, there are so many variables, you know, with car setup, weather, all these things play such a big part. So, you know, it definitely helps if you understand that from a driver's point of view.
Right. Podium time is upon us. Are you ready? Was the plaintive cry. And they decided they were in the room of stories. And so coming out through the door on the right, they should pop out onto the podiums. The first of our 4 podium ceremonies. This is the conclusion of Super Trofeo Asia for 2024. 6 rounds, 12 races. The season started in May at Sepang in Malaysia, went to the Bend in Australia, Inji in China, Fuji, fantastic speedway in Japan, Shanghai International Circuit, and here at Jerez, races 11 and 12. Jonathan Cecotto's come out. His car did finish, but it was many, many laps down after repairs. So 3rd in the pro class, so that's why he's looking a little bashful. It could have been victory, probably was going to be second place, because certainly we saw that Gavin Huang didn't have the pace of Charles Leong, but coming out into 2nd place, the 232 crew, of course, that is Charles Leong and Miki Koyama. Still no win for them this season, but a 2nd place, cementing another strong season. But Dan Wells and Emilian Card. Dan, the taller of those 2 figures, is the champion in the pro class, the outright champion for 2024 for DW Evans GT. The top step is theirs. That's his 4th win.
That'll be why Gavin Huang and Johnny Cecotto got back out to just finish to guarantee the podium. You know, it seems silly to work so hard and spend all this effort all year to then not get a trophy. You want to get as many trophies as you can, so the fact they managed to get back out and just finish means they get their 3rd place.
Yeah, absolutely, and they never knew what was going to happen to some of the other cars. Still, that contact between happy on the top step, Dan Wells and Emilian Card, the champions on the right, the smile is also on the left. And for the crew in 2nd place, Charles Leong looking a little pensive. He knows his incident is under investigation. So 2nd place for now, but I can't predict any punishment. I don't know. I'm not the race steward. And 3rd place, Gavin Huang on the right and Jonathan Cecotto. They get the trophy, but they wanted the win, or 2nd place, they wanted the title. But it's gone to the man on the top step of the podium, Dan Wells. Job done. And that revealing interview he had with Marietta Evans, pointing out he got here and his crew did not. That must have been the largest of scrambles that started this week. They've managed to get enough people together to get the car on the track, get it fast enough to come out and end up with the win and the title. So, wow, what a weekend. We haven't got to the weekend, it's Friday. But yeah. Dan Wells and Emilian Card, this will be a big, big release coming up now.
Yeah, it's, like I say, for Dan Wells, it makes it even more special when it's your own team. You know, like he said, he has his simulator business where they prepared, so he really controls all the variables. And then you have one of the variables snatched from underneath you.
Absolutely. You talk... Never walk idly onto a podium. Here is our champion for 2024. The Asian Super Trofeo champion is Dan Wells from 265, the DW Evans GT team. Well, most of them. Some maybe didn't get through customs. But there it is at the end. 141 points, a 14-point margin. Miki Koyama and Charles Leong, 2nd place. Just 3 points ahead of Jonathan Cecotto and Gavin Huang. Those are the 2 cars that were fighting for victory. They clashed. And that meant Dan Wells had the title in his pocket. So Dan Wells, champion, will finally leave the podium. It's one thing when you go, you don't want to leave. But now we're going to go for the next of the podium ceremonies.
And now we've got the Asenza SCV12s heading out on track, and they are very loud.
Very loud, I didn't notice, I couldn't hear. Yeah. They would rip material with their sound. So Andre Couto and Jason Chen, or Fang Pin Chen, champions, 3rd in the Pro-Am class today. They did what they needed to do. They are the Pro-Am champions, coming out to take 2nd place in the Pro-Am class. The 256 crew, also from DW Evans. That rings a bell, doesn't it? Nicholas Bertolatti and Thomas Lee. 2nd place for them. They were the outside bets after yesterday's non-score. And up onto the top step, Jasmine Jafar and Selim Rafiq, the Malaysian duo, all smiles. And they were second overall, so that's an extra accolade. Second time they've managed that this season. They got better through the course of the season. One second place for them last time out at Shanghai. Another here, showing not only have they done well, they've made progress. That's what you need, building blocks for the future.
Yeah, for the AM drivers, it's all about just building those experiences, and then you can take that into the following season and you start at that higher level, and then you can just build on that again and hopefully, you know, go a step further.
Thank you very much. And we've got a lovely trophy.
So Selim Rafiq on the right with the beard, and Jasmine Jafar closer to us. Trophies aloft, Pro-Am winners here, second overall, just 4.5 seconds down on the race leader. But Dan Wells was cruising. He knew what he had to do to take the outright championship. That he did it with outright victory. Delightful for him. But these Pro-Am crews finishing second, fourth and fifth overall, so they had a good run. Some of the pro crews didn't make it to the finish. And thus, these Pro-Am crews maybe slightly higher up than you find them usually, but the wise head there, Andre Couto on the right-hand side of the podium, did what he needed. That fifth place, very much in contention. And right at the end, he knew he didn't have to chase Nicholas Pertolatti. He could drop back, and the points were in the bag. The title in the Pro-Am class is theirs. The drivers on the right side of the podium, Jason Chen and Andre Couto, third place today in the final race at 12, was all they needed. And Andre Couto, a good mathematician, clearly, got the job done. For Jasmine Jafar and Selim Rafiq on the top step of the podium, the champagne will be sweet. Maybe next year they can tilt for the title outright.
Yeah, I think if some of these crews come back next year, it could be quite a tasty field for the Pro-Ams. And it'd be good to see Brian Lee up in Pro-Am. I think he, if you get a good pro in the car, I think that could be quite a serious contention.
Well, here is the winning car in Pro-Am, second overall today from Arrows Racing, Jasmine Jafar and Selim Rafiq. But Andre Couto and Jason Chen, 140 points. They take the title by 9 points. For Jafar and Rafiq, they were the outside shot. Couldn't get there today, but it's good to be in the mix. Those three crews, if they all come back, that will be a mighty battle in 2025.
Yeah, if Thomas Lee and Nicholas Pertolatti had finished yesterday, they probably would have taken the title. So it just shows you how every race you have to just finish.
Yeah, but I think within that, Andre Couto just gave him more breathing space.
Of course.
So now we're going to move to the AM class, and we know the winner of that. He even took a tilted outright victory. But the 209 crew coming out third in the AM class, YK Motorsports, it's Kat and Fu, or Natanid Liwatanavalagul and Dechathorn Puaka Rawul. To give them their full names, the Thai racers. Second place in class 277, that's Madness Racing Team, Stephen Hong and Harry He. But on the top step, all on his own, Brian Lee, champion already, just knuckling down, came home in third place, was challenging for outright victory, didn't quite go right for him at the chicane, but what a year he's had. And Brian's waving the flag for South Korea and really doing a great job. It's great to have as many nationalities possible in the championship, and I had the honour of going to the Korean international circuit that hosted, what, 3 Grand Prix some while ago. It was almost in mothballs. It's a shame. It's a great racing circuit. It needs more racing on it.
Yeah, although this year, the last couple of years, they've been going to Inji Podium, which is in South Korea, and from what I see, the onboards and pictures, it looks amazing, this wicked track through the mountains in South Korea. So clearly it's a flourishing country for motorsport.
Yeah. Most certainly, but again, you know, you do need to keep an eye out. There's some fantastic circuits being built across Asia, and you've just got to see what's coming up next. But Brian Lee will certainly, you know, help propel Korea further back up the racing ladder again. And you can see the joy on his face there. Top step of the podium. And we'll find out what his plans are for 2025, one would feel. So, Jack Bartholomew, thank you very, very much, and come back tomorrow for the World Finals.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Pro World Finals.
One more podium ceremony to go. The Asian Series is ended on the track. And the podium ceremony is almost through. But for Brian Lee in 2.63, he pressed, he found himself actually tilting for outright victory and just came unstuck as he got down to the chicane. But the title was his yesterday, he'd wrapped it up. He stretched his advantage today, but the Thai duo from YK Motorsports, Kat and Fu, not too far behind. They were in the mix right to the end of the season. And now we get to the final podium of 2024 for Super Trofeo Asia. Third place in class 233. Kumar Prabhakan, he tried to go out. Well, he did go out on rain tires. It wasn't the way to go. Second place, 271. That's Superchai Weerabornpong. He was an outside title hope, but because they've won the class so many times, the Zarilo brothers, Harry and Haziq, had the championship in the bag yesterday, and they took another class win today. The Malaysian duo have had a fantastic season. Smiles all round. Look at Kumar, third place today, still very, very happy with life. It's great to see the spirit and the appreciation as the trophies are handed out. Superchai Weerabornpong, another Thai racer. They really do enjoy their racing in the Super Trofeo. But Haziq and Harry Zarilo, there they are, the top step. They have had a great second season in Lamborghinis. They were second in the class last year. This year, they've nailed it. Let's see what they race next year. Which class will they aim for?
Gentlemen, great job, well done.
If you'd like to get on the top step of the podium.
Well, indeed.
For a lovely group.
That is a great job. 4 classes in each of the Lamborghini Super Trofeos, and smiles all round. So you just have to remember sometimes in the heat of the battle which cars you're racing against for class points, but they've done a very good job. And there it is, capping a season. Harry and Haziq Zarilo from Malaysia, champions and class winners here at the final round at Circuito de Jerez.
The last time in Asia, the best part of the podium. The champagne.
Waiting for the champagne. It was like the start of a race. Will they save those bottles as their title-winning bottles? It looks as though they may well do, but really enjoyable. That is the conclusion of Super Trofeo Asia for 2024. It's been great fun. My name is Bruce Jones. I've loved covering it all. And that was the brothers O taking victory and the title in the Lamborghini Cup class. Looking at the points, ended up 18 points clear of Superchai Weerabornpong and Kumar Prabhakan. So the top 3 runners in the top 3 positions, all on the podium here at the final round. So that's the end of this, and that's goodbye from me, Bruce Jones. Come back and join us for the Asian races in the Super World Finals tomorrow and Sunday. But for now, let's take a look at the highlights.